Thanks for tuning in, and if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Also, don't forget to smash that like button.
So today's project is grinder storage. I have 4 of these angle grinders, 2 battery op and 2 plug-in that I'd like to hang off the side of the bench. Most of them do have this side handle installed, so I got to take that into account. But I would like to make a bracket, either 4 separate ones or one big one that holds all 4 of them with a collar of some kind to hang them here underneath the side of the welding table. I made it a point to just do grinding and fabrication on my fabrication table and just do welding on the welding table to keep it nice and clean. But I do like the idea of storing these here, because when you are welding, this is usually when you need a grinder. So I want to design something up and see if we can cut it out on the plasma table. Let's get started. Okay, so here's the pattern I made. Don't mind the dimensions in here, they won't cut, but these big lines will cut. I added these lines throughout the middle to help me break this piece of metal. My metal brake will handle 16 gauge easily. I want to cut this out of 10 gauge, which is approximately 1/8 of an inch, and it won't break, especially 36 inches across. That's a lot of metal to move. But if I put this relief cut in here, then you're only bending these small sections. So the idea is this becomes a trough. This side bolts to the table, and then this becomes the brackets, if you will, to hang those grinders. So it'll hold 4 grinders with the sides spaced out so the handle sticks outwards. And these should line up with my holes on the table and bolt straight in there. So we've got the pattern done. Let's get it cut. And here's the piece straight off the table. Not a bad cut. Some dross along here. This line looks like it's cut by a laser. A little bit of dross along these edges. Getting a perfect cut like that one, it's not as easy as you might think. I have been keeping a journal of amperage based off of thickness. Also, what works best depending on the water level in the table, the thickness of the metal, how long the cuts have to go in inches, also how even the table is, because the distance between the head and the piece is the difference sometimes between a dross filled cut like that one and a nice clean cut like this one. Because there's so much debris and dross on the slats of the table, it's difficult to get a consistent torch height. So sometimes you get dross like that. So overall, not a bad cut. I went probably a tick too small on these mounting holes. And this is a shoulder bolt that mounts easily in the table. I think it will go in here. Just need to clean this hole up slightly and then see if it should locate. Again, we're going to put it on that edge, but should locate the holes, be able to line everything up. It looks like these missed. Somebody's math was off here. So the idea is to bolt through the table and the piece, bolt this to the side, and then I have to put a couple of bends along here to bend this up to shape. Now, this metal is 10 gauge, which is thicker than what my Bailey magnetic brake can handle. Per spec, it can only handle 16 gauge. That's why I put these relief cuts in here. So really we're only bending, this amount of metal each time. Then I'll put a weld in here once that's broke up to the angle we want. You can bend thicker metals on a magnetic brake. You just have to make sure that the entire top bar is supported. I'll even put another piece next to here once it's on the table. I'll show you a picture of that once we get up on the brake. But looks like we had a little problem here. Let me go back and look at the blueprint, see what went wrong. But otherwise, we'll clean this dross up and get this over to the brake. I did recut these 2 holes that I missed. I'm gonna have to come back in and fill those in to make it look like I didn't screw it up, but easy enough. I did overcut this slightly because I put it back on the plate, back on the table, and recut using the same fixture. And if it was slightly off for me just jostling it, I didn't want to miss those holes. So these I cut slightly over just to make sure it fits in there. So I'm going to use this cut line that I put in there to line up so I can see daylight along the brake. Make sure it's not into this edge, that it's all on the magnet. Nice and square. Yeah. And then this is the piece of scrap I'm going to use, same thickness as the piece we're bending. Set it in here so the top plate goes completely across and has metal touching it all the way across. Like I said, the rated gauge on this brake is 16 gauge, but you can break thicker materials as long as the top piece is supported and you don't overwork the machine. So I'll get this set up and make a couple of bends. All right, so I've got it mocked up here. I'm not sure this is the hardware I'm going to use. These are $5 bolts, 4 of them. That's probably more than the budget allows for, but anyhow, I thought about just using 5/8 dowel and making a little catch behind it on the lathe. That remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. I could even just run some cheap 1/2-inch bolts through there and put a nut on the other side, so we'll see what happens. I do plan on welding or making a weld along here, at least some tack welds, just to strengthen this a little bit, although I don't think this is going to go anywhere just for the weight of the grinders. But it does fit nicely on the 36-inch side of the 3x4 table. I'm going to set the grinders in here just for layout. So the plan I used to make the pattern was long enough to accommodate this side handle, as long as they're all on the same side. So, since I'm right-handed, I traditionally set that holding handle up on the same side. So these are all 4.5-inch grinders, so they all fit nicely in there. I'm happy with it. That's exactly what I was looking for. There is extra storage up here for discs if you were so inclined, but I'm not sure that's what I'll end up doing with that space or not. Definitely a wrench would look nice up there. Be a good place for, you know, I end up with so many disc wrenches. Be a good place to find the wrench. I probably will relocate those to there. Okay, so here's the finished product. I didn't weld it inside here yet, but I did bolt it up and realized that bolted flush with this face, when mounted, the grinders are taller than the top of the bench. So I dropped it down, made some small brackets. So instead of 2 $5 bolts, I needed 4. Let's see how we work that out. I didn't end up using the misdrilled holes on the outside, just the 2 on the inside. It seems sturdy enough with those 5/8 bolts. So the grinders all mount here on the outside. I did design it so it's got enough space, obviously, for the side handles. That's nice. And it'll hold 4 grinders. If I did it again, I'd add in this distance here instead of making a back bracket. So it would sit down and probably make 2 more mounting points just for increased strength. But all in all, happy with the outcome. Now it's below the top of the bench, so it doesn't interfere when things are hanging off one side or the other. I do have a lot of fixturing bolts and hardware that I need to find a home for. These are for some of the angles and squares that go, bolt to the different points of the table. I need to find some way to secure them, store them, other than in this plastic tote that seems to always be in the way. So I do have some other projects to go with the table. I'll be adding those later projects. Thanks for watching.